Hi everyone, I'm Baz. This is Sharpen channel, and today I am sharpening an old rosewood Victorinox knife, but it's been sharpened previously on a sander. Now, I know there are a lot of sanding people out there, but I don't know. What do you think of this? It just doesn't. I mean, I'm sure it would give an edge, but what are your thoughts on this style of sharpening? I'm going to give it a hard bevel. Probably going to run it on the sander here quickly to just give it a fresh edge, because it's got a few chips and nicks in it, and I like starting with a square edge. I might give it a bit more of a point as well. This has been rounded off a lot. So I'm going to head over to the sander briefly, and then I'll come back on the Tormek, finish it off on the honing wheel, clean up the burr or remaining burr on the kangaroo strop, and it should slice cigarette paper. So we'll see how that goes. Didn't need much, but now it's got a beautiful edge, nice point, ready for the sharpening. I'm going to set this to 32 degrees. I think that's what the Victorinox like the best. Make sure I got the wheel diameter correct, 220. Set this to 16 degrees. Nice. Sorry about the screeching. Beautiful. Now, because I've got a complete square edge on that, I'm going to take it down to the 80. Feels rough. Many of you have seen me do this many times, and the primary reason for this channel is to build something that I would have needed when I was starting with the Tormek. So if you're a new subscriber, welcome. If you've got a brand new Tormek, or you're thinking of getting a Tormek, this is designed to show you how easy it can be, or simple and straightforward it can be, to sharpen a knife on the Tormek. Of course, I make it look easy primarily because I'm so handsome, but if you're not handsome, you could still do this. I stay on this 80 grit until I can feel a burr, good strong burr all the way across, and then I refine the edge with a 320 grit, taking the wheel down to about 1000. The 80 grit, for those who don't know, primes the wheel at around about 240, 250 grit, depending on how much I push. I've got half a burr. It's missing in the middle here, so it needs a little bit more. I have a burr all the way across. So now a couple of moments with the 320 grit. That definitely feels smoother. This is the standard wheel. It's called an SG wheel, which I believe stands for super grind, which is what these machines used to be called, super grind. I think it was called a super grind 2000. Now they're just called an SG wheel, and I love them. I think they're the best wheel. I have the other wheels. I think this is the best general purpose wheel that will do everything you need and get you a very, very good edge. and that's plenty. The last thing I do is I check the bevels to make sure they look even using my engineering eye, and if they look even, they are. And at the moment this doesn't. Looks like this side is a little bit deeper than this side, so I might just give, which is odd because this side here that needs more grinding is the first side. But the grinding the bevels can change because you might spend more time going slower, you might press harder. There's a lot of factors that could determine how deep each side of the bevel is. So I adjust as I go. That looks much better. Maybe a little bit more on the heel on this side. And I always start again from the tip. I don't just do the heel because that will introduce multiple facets. I want it to be an even facet all the way from the tip all the way to the heel. That's perfect. Check it out. Beautiful. The next step is to knock off that burr, which I use the honing wheel for. I don't know why this thing started to vibrate all of a sudden. Don't know. Actually, let me just check something. That's tight. That's tight. These are tight. These are tight. Oh, it could be the tray without water in it. That could be it. Oh, that was it. Okay. So I always use fresh green oxide. Chrome oxide green. I find the burr side and I always flip it to the top, so I'm polishing the back of the burr so the burr falls off easier when I attack it. Seems natural to want to attack the burr straight up, but don't. It'll break it off too violently. And even though I'm using a freehand technique, what I'm doing is I'm feeling for the friction. The friction is because it's on the bevel. You can imagine if it was on the tip, there'd be not much friction. If it was on the bottom of the bevel, it would be on an edge, not much friction. But when it's on the bevel, there's a lot more metal and it grips it. So I feel for that, and that's where I hone, with a little bit of a bias to the apex, but not much. Not as much as many people think. Pressing medium hard to start with, and then I'll finish with a couple of light passes before I head off to the kangaroo tail strop. When you see the knife jerking, that means I'm on the gripping point. So it's a bit of a balancing act. See that? Gripping? That means I'm on the bevel. You can actually tell by the wax pattern that you're on the actual bevel. Alright, see how there's no wax on the actual bevel? Alright, see if I can find a patch where I did lift up. No, I didn't. So when you see the wax is behind the bevel, then you know that you're on the bevel. There's a little bit of wax above on the bevel there, so that might have been a little bit of apexy there. I'll show you what an apex run looks like. After I've finished. So I'll do a bit of apex right at the heel here. Pretty obvious. So this is a bevel run all the way, and you see if you can tell where I'm on the apex. Right? You can see obviously because it's scraping off the wax from the edge. And I'll do a couple of light passes actually up on the edge, lightly, because I really want to make sure that as much of that burr is gone as possible. And I use a little fingernail test to determine that. It's very common, it's not as horrific as you'd think. I just pass the blade from the base all the way to the tip, and it should feel silky smooth. I call it icy smooth. So that's done. Next, I wipe off all of that wax in order to not contaminate the kangaroo strop. I want that to remain pure. Make sure it's a clean blade, both sides. I find microfibers invaluable. Okay. Hello, Chili. At this point I'll remove it from the clamp. And again I'm trying to find that bevel, and I can feel the gripping point. Initially I push reasonably hard, medium hard, and then I finish with some lighter strokes. That wasn't enough. I should do more stropping. Hang on. Now I'm pressing quite lightly. That should do. If you want to do more, I've got a flappy sort of tail here, good ridging on that. You see the ridges? very important. And just lightly. Now I also have a hard block, and this is a very thin strip of kangaroo leather. Look how thin that is. Right? But this is body leather, not tail leather, and this is the suede side up, and it's got a lot of caked on compound there, but just a few little strokes on there I'm sure would be harmless. And that's it, done. Wipe off the wax. Being very careful here, this is an injury waiting to happen, but it's got to be wiped off. And this is the finished edge. You can see that little micro bevel that's been put on by the honing wheel. Arguably a good thing, possibly not a good thing. The science of sharpening is not as easy as I originally thought it would be, although I never thought it'd be that easy. But it's a bit controversial, and I get whatever techniques I get. So, sorry, I'll get whatever results I get using the techniques I use. And the test that I use, first of all, this is an easy test. This is normal glossy magazine paper. Right, that feels great. Let's try that again. Normal glossy magazine paper. Nice. My next step is telephone book paper, which is a bit more difficult. Nice. Then I use tally-ho paper. This is the equivalent to 100 Bess or better. So if I can slice through here without too much drama. That was a little bit of drama. Sometimes I use the back suede side of a kangaroo tail strop to just refine that edge in case there's a little bit of hanging on. I may not have done enough strops on the kangaroo tail. There you go, much better. Done. Beautiful old rosewood handle Victorinox chef knife, large version. Hope you enjoyed that. If you have any requests for things, leave a comment. And if you want to see more of this, hit the subscribe button. But I thank you for watching regardless. See you next time.